Alright guys, I am back again with another deck profile for Cardfight Vanguard Deer Days on Nintendo Switch. This time we got version 2 of my Stoicheia Rorowa glitter deck. So version 2 is everything through the additional special set, so through a fraction of D-Booster Set 11. And this deck has received a pretty nice upgrade. We again have new forms for both our Vanguard and Rearguard glitters, as well as some other pretty good new support cards for this deck that actually allow you to potentially have up to 5 attacks per turn with this deck now, as well as helping in both the resource and draw power departments. So as always, we'll be going through the deck and then we'll show it off in one card fight. So starting first with the ride deck, of course it's the same as it was before. So our grade 0 starter is Bushiroad Youth Rorowa. So when he's rode upon, if you want a second, draw a card. Same old starter skill. Next for the grade 1, we have Awakening from Slumber Rorowa. So he has his auto ability. It says when this unit is placed by riding on Bushiroad Youth Rorowa, you call up to 1 plant token to your back row center rearguard circle. And then of course this card is a glitter, which does nothing on its own, just turns on some of our rearguard abilities. So as always, I throw up a screenshot for the plant tokens, which they're just vanilla grade 0 5k units. So nothing special, but this deck does, take very tremendous advantage of them. And this ability just gives you the 1 free plant token to your back row center rearguard. So very simple ability, but just some free card advantage onto your board. Next for the grade 2, we have The World 3,000 Years Later Rorowa. So his auto ability says when this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, you can retire one of your rearguards and call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard circle. And once again, this card is a glitter. So this ability is again pretty simple, just lets you eat the plant token that you called from your grade 1 Rorowa skill and replace it with 2 plant tokens. So just turns 1 into 2. So again, some very nice card advantage onto your board. And then for the grade 3, we have For One's Precious Thing, Rorowa. So he has an activate ability that says once per turn, you can Soul Blast 1 and call up to 3 plant tokens to rearguard circle. So yet again, just another plant token generating ability. For 1 soul can get you up to 3 onto your board. So very nice, since you can use those to just fill in your board, or you can sacrifice those plant tokens for the cost of some of our other cards' abilities. So then he also has his auto ability that says when this unit is attacked, you can retire 1 or more of your token units, and this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle for each unit retired for this cost. And then again, also this card is a glitter. So a nice defensive skill as well, letting you turn basically any token units on your board into 5k shields when your opponent attacks into Rorowa. So you can use those tokens for sacrifices to pay your costs, or you can keep them on your board to just be units on your board for offense and then use them for defense during your opponent's turn as well. So a pretty nice card in terms of both offense and defense. So that is the ride deck. Moving on to the main deck. First for the grade 3s, we actually don't have any more copies of OG Rorowa, because instead we have 4 copies of his new form, a Viridescent Flash Rorowa. So he has 2 auto abilities. First one says when this unit is placed by riding from For One's Precious Thing Rorowa, you call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard circle. And they get a new auto ability that says when this unit is retired from rearguard circle, you draw a card until the end of your opponent's turn. And then you also activate Persona Ride. So despite having a different name, you still can get the Persona Ride bonus when you ride this form on the OG form. And you also get to call out 2 plant tokens, which is less than the 3 that the OG form can call out. But the 2 that you get from this card lets you give those tokens an ability that lets you draw a card when those tokens are retired. So if you retire those tokens during your turn for any of your cards' cost, you can go ahead and get that draw power immediately. Or, since this ability lasts until the end of your opponent's turn, if you retire them during your opponent's turn for OG Rorowa's defensive ability, you can still get the draws during your opponent's turn as well. So a more versatile ability that can definitely help the draw power for this deck. And then he's also got his second auto ability that ties into that a little bit, that says when this unit attacks, you can bind a for once precious thing Rorowa from your soul to choose one of your glitter rearguards, and until end of turn, that unit and this unit get power plus 5,000, and this unit gets critical plus 1. And then at the end of that turn, you ride the card bound for this cost as rest. And then again, of course, this card is a glitter. So this second auto ability is his offensive skill, letting you bind out the original form from your soul to power up both himself and one of your rearguard glitters, which generally your primary target for that is going to be Momoke, since if you combine it with the 2 Radylina forms in the deck, that can power up potentially 3 of your rearguard attacks. So he can strengthen a lot of your attacks during your turn, and he also gives himself the extra critical, so your Vanguard should have crit pressure as well, which between the Persona Ride and his own power-up, he should be hitting at least 28k on his own, plus boost, so that extra crit power can be pretty dangerous. And then at the end of that turn, you also ride back into the OG Rorowa, which is good since it sets up you to potentially be able to use his defensive skill during your opponent's turn. So you can still turn all your token units into 5k shields, which can again also potentially let you get that draw power off the plant tokens you call from him during your opponent's turn if they survived on your board that long. So a very cool new boss unit for this deck. The only real downside to it is it can be kind of on the slow side, since you do ride into this on turn 4 at the soonest. So you won't be able to get that extra draw power early game, which sometimes you really need it early game. But if you can survive long enough to ride into this card, it does give you a nice draw engine for the deck, as well as a good boost to your offense. So very, very cool card. So next we have 3 copies of the new form for our rearguard glitter. Undoubting Flame Sword Radylina. So she has her auto ability that says at the beginning of your main phase, if you do not have a Momoke token on your rearguard circle, you call up to 1 Momoke token to rearguard circle. And then she also has her glitter ability that's active if your Vanguard is a glitter with Rorowa in its card name. That is active while she's in your hand. That says at the end of the battle, your unit with Radylina in its card name attacked. If your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, you can retire a rearguard with Radylina in its card name and a Momoke token to call this card to rearguard circle, and that unit's power increases by the power of the Momoke token retired for this ability's cost until end of turn. So again, I throw up a screenshot to show the Momoke token and go through his abilities real fast. He has an activate ability that says once per turn, you can retire 1 or more of your other rearguards, and this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of turn for each unit retired for this cost. And then he also has his glitter ability that says if you have a unit with Radylina in its card name in the same column as this unit can attack from the back row. So the Momoke token is a key card for this deck, a vital piece for all of your big combos, which that token can be called out both by this grade 3 Radylina as well as the grade 2 Radylina, which generally the sequence for what you want to do is you want to call the grade 2 Radylina and use her skill to call out the Momoke token. Then you can use the Momoke's skill to retire some of your other rearguards, generally your plant tokens, to power him up as much as possible. So then during your battle phase, you can attack with the Momoke token from the back row, attack with the grade 2 Radylina in front of him, and you can use her skill to have her gain Momoke's power as well. So she'll be boosted up real big. And then at the end of that battle, you can use the grade 3 Radylina from your hand to retire the grade 2 Radylina and the Momoke on your board, to superior call the grade 3 Radylina from your hand, and have her gain Momoke's power as well. So this ability will give you your 5th attack per turn, and at least 3 of those attacks should be pretty big since you're pumping up Momoke a lot with his own ability, plus potentially some of your other cards' ability as well, such as, you know, the new Rorowa skill. So Momoke should be hitting pretty decent numbers, and then your grade 2 and grade 3 Radylinas will both be inheriting his power, so they should be pumped up pretty big as well. So definitely a helpful card in terms of offense, giving you one more big numbered attack during your turn. And then if the grade 3 Radylina survives your opponent's turn on your board, at the beginning of your next turn's main phase, you do get to call a Momoke token back to your board for free. So you do get to restore a Momoke after you had to retire it in the previous turn, at no cost. So she does help set up your board again for the next turn, which, if you have the grade 2 Radylina back in your hand, you can actually use the Momoke skill to retire the grade 3 Radylina off your board to power him up, and that'll open up that rearguard circle to call the grade 2 form back from your hand to potentially do the entire combo again. So a very powerful card, boosting the offense for this deck a considerable amount. So next we have 2 copies of Full Blown Dragon. So he has an auto ability that says at the end of your turn, if your Vanguard is a glitter, you can put this unit into your soul and call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard circle. So this card is a card I like to combo with the grade 3 Radylina, since if you used her skill that turn, you'll be ending your turn with 1 empty back row rearguard circle. So if you have Full Blown Dragon in your other front row rearguard circle, what you can do is at the end of that turn, you stick this card into your soul, and you can call 2 plant tokens, so you call them to your empty back row rearguard circle, and then the rearguard circle that this card was on. So that will give you an extra soul resource, and it replaces a grade 3 on your board with 2 plant tokens, which can be 2 extra 5k shields thanks to grade 3 Rorowa skill. So it's just a way to turn a card that would normally offer no defense whatsoever into both a resource and potentially 10k worth of extra defense during your opponent's turn. So a pretty cool card that just flows very nicely with the new Radylina form. So then lastly for the grade 3s, we have 4 copies of our set order Resolute Pair of Eyes. So if you have a Vanguard with Rorowa and its card name, you can play this with a Counterblast 1 and by retiring a rearguard. And it has an auto ability that says when this card is put into the order zone, you search your deck for up to 1 card with Radylina and its card name, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this can be a vital card for the deck, helping you search out either of your Radylina forms. So generally you want to prioritize the grade 2 Radylina if you don't have it, since she's more vital to the deck being able to function. So if you don't have your grade 2, grab your grade 2, but if you already have the grade 2, you can get the grade 3 with this card as well. And again, if you have a copy of this in your hand the turn after you use the grade 3 Radylina, you can sacrifice that grade 3 Radylinas to pay this card's cost and help you search out the grade 2 Radylina. Or if you already have it in your hand, search out a replacement grade 3 Radylina, and again, help loop your entire combo. So, very helpful skill in helping you maintain the consistency of the deck. And on top of that, it also has a continuous ability when it's in your order zone that says during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Rorowa and its card name, all of your back row token units get power plus 5,000. So this also is a very nice skill for this deck, powering up all your back row token units. So that will power up Momoke as well as your plant tokens. So that'll turn your plant tokens into at least 10k boosters, potentially more, if you have multiple copies of this card in your order zone, since this ability will stack for each copy you have. So you can turn your plant tokens into some big boosters for your Vanguard and one of your rearguard attacks. And it'll also power up Momoke even further for his attack, as well as letting both forms of Radylina inherit that much more power. So a very nice card for this deck. You want to get as many copies of this into play as possible in order to strengthen that back row as much as you possibly can. So that is all the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s. First off, we have 4 copies of Drag Ritter Girl of Flame Blossoms, Radylina. So the original form of our Rearguard glitter. So she has our activate ability that says if you do not have a Momoke token, you can counterblast one and call up to one Momoke token to Rearguard Circle. So this is the primary way to generate your Momoke token initially early in the game. Just a counterblast one for a +1 to your board and get you that key combo piece. And then she's also got her glitter ability that says when this unit attacks, you can Soul Blast one to choose one of your token units in the same column as this unit, and this unit gets the power of that unit until end of that battle. So like I already mentioned, that is the skill to have her inherit Momoke's power, which is good since Momoke is not going to be boosting her directly, he's going to be attacking from the back row. So with this skill, he can essentially still boost her as well, letting her inherit his power. And when it's comboed with the grade 3 Radylina form, of course, the grade 3 Radylina will be able to inherit that power as well. So again, another vital card for the deck. It is searchable off of the set order, but you still want to run it at 4 copies since you will usually be needing to go into multiple copies of it, since you will be retiring it to pay for grade 3 Radylina skill. So you'll need to have a additional copy to go into the next turn, since we don't really have any ways to call her back from the drop in this deck. So yeah, definite 4 of. So next we got 2 copies of Prodpollen Raphelius. So her auto ability says when this unit is placed on Rearguard Circle, you can counterblast one and call up to 2 plant tokens to Rearguard Circle. So just another plant token generator for the deck. She has a 9k base, but often she doesn't end up attacking. Usually if you call her out and then use her to call the 2 plant tokens, you can actually retire her and those 2 tokens for Momoke's ability, or to pay the cost for your set order, and then call something better onto your board to actually attack with. So yeah, she's just another way to generate your plant tokens, which she's an excellent card on turn 2. If you have 2 damage and her and Radylina in your hand, you can call out Radylina and then call Momoke and let Momoke eat the plant tokens you called off your ride line, and then call Prodpollen and use her skill to fill in your board with plant tokens again. So you'll have a full board on turn 2 and be able to get 4 pretty decent attacks out of it. So yeah, just a nice card overall for this deck. And then lastly for the grade 2s, we have 2 copies of Tier Knight Fletche. So her auto ability says when this unit attacks a grade 3 or greater Vanguard, this unit gets power plus 5,000 until end of that battle for each of your token units. So she's just a good beat stick for this deck. Your whole back row should be full of token units most of the time, so she should gain an extra 15,000 power. So she should be swinging for pretty big numbers. One thing to remember is you do want to be sure to attack with her before you attack with the grade 2 Radylina, if you plan on using the grade 3 Radylina from your hand, since that will take out one of the token units in your back row. That will also weaken Fletche's attack. So get your attack order right on that turn, and be sure to maximize your offense. So that's all the grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s. First off, we have 1 copy of Signpost Fairy. So it's got auto ability, says when this unit is retired from Rearguard Circle by your card's ability, if your Vanguard is a glitter, you choose one of your grade 1 or less Rearguards, and it gets power plus 10,000 until end of turn. So this card isn't vital by any means. I just kind of included 1 copy because I felt like it. It is a -1 since you have to call it from your hand just to be retired. But if you let Momoke eat it, he'll get his 5k from his own skill for this card, plus an extra 10k from this card's ability. So that'll help power up Momoke by at least 15k just by retiring 1 unit. Potentially more if you took out some plant tokens or whatever with him. So that should bump Momoke up to some pretty good numbers, which again, you'll have potentially 2 other attacks inheriting that much power that turn. So while this card is a -1, it can basically give an extra 15k to at least 3 of your attacks that turn. So very good for your final push turn if you want to strengthen your offense as much as possible. But if you want to take this out and replace it with something else, you can feel free to do so. So next we got 4 copies of Burrow Mushrooms. So he's got activate ability that says you can put this unit into your soul to call up to 2 plant tokens to rearguard circle. And if you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Granfia in its name, you choose one of your rearguards and give it 5k until end of turn. So obviously you won't be able to get the 5k in this deck since it's not a Granfia deck, but we don't care about the power, we're just using it for the plant token generation, as well as turning itself into a soul resource, which this deck can still get pretty soul heavy between OG Rorowa and grade 2 Radylina's skill. You are soul blasting quite a bit, and if you ride the new Rorowa, you can't soul blast out the OG Rorowa because you got to keep him in your soul to bind him for the new Rorowa's cost. So having this card be another way to generate soul for the deck along with Full Blown Dragon can be very nice to help with that extra resource. And again, it's a way to get even more plant tokens onto your board. So just a very nice card to potentially fill in those back 2 rearguard circles to get those plant token boosters onto your board. So the only other grade 1s we have are Sentinels, so we have 3 copies of Custodial Dragon, just your standard Perfect Guard, as well as the 1 copy of the Blitz Order Elementaria Sanctitude, which you can play without paying the cost if your opponent's Vanguard has triple drive. So that's all the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s, we just have our trigger lineup, which is 7 crit, 4 draw, 4 heal, and 1 over. So starting first with the crits, we have 4 copies of Aspiring Maiden Alana. So crit with a skill, at the end of the battle it boosted, you can put it into your soul to choose one of your units, and it gets power plus 2k until end of turn. So again, just another way to generate soul for this deck if you're desperate for that resource. Additionally, we have 3 copies of Sylvanhorn Beast Jackalope. So just your vanilla crit. Next for the draws, we have 4 copies of Serene Maiden Lena. So draw with a skill if your opponent's Vanguard's grade 3 or greater, get shield plus 5,000. So your 10k shield, draw trigger. And then for the heals, we have 4 copies of Rhythmica Kiwi. So just your vanilla heal. If you want to run any of the effect heals, you can. And then lastly for the over trigger, we have 1 copy of Spiritual King of Ignition, Val Naut. So this is one of the new nationless over triggers that was introduced in the festival booster. So his additional effect says choose one of your standing rearguards, and it gets a new auto ability until end of turn. That says once per turn, at the end of the battle this unit attacked, you stand this unit. And then if you did not choose a card, you draw a card and choose up to 1 unit card from your hand and call it to rearguard circle. So this is a pretty cool over trigger for this deck. It lets you restand one of your rearguards and let them attack again. So if you combo this with Momoke and your grade 3 Radylina, then you can actually have 400 million plus attacks in 1 turn, which is absolutely absurd and almost a guarantee that you're gonna get the win that turn. Since if you check this and you give the 100 million power to Momoke as well as the auto ability, you can attack with him for 100 million, restand him, attack with him again for 100 million, then attack with grade 2 Radylina, use her skill to inherit Momoke's 100 million power, and then sacrifice both them to call grade 3 Radylina from your hand, and she'll get that 100 million power as well. So yeah, with the right timing, this is an absolutely devastating trigger that's almost a guaranteed win, unless your opponent was just at really low damage, or, you know, had a bunch of perfect guards in their hand, or whatever. So extremely dangerous over trigger with the right setup. And of course, if you end up checking this card really early game, and you don't have any standing rearguards to give that ability to, you also have the sort of backup ability where it lets you just draw one and call one during your battle phase. So you still can get an extra attack out of that battle phase, even if you didn't have any standing rear guards at that point, and potentially you get a +1 out of it as well. So yeah, very, very cool overtrigger for this deck. So that is the deck, so we will go ahead and have our one fight with it. And we'll fight Yuki this time. We'll have a sibling battle. And we will be going second. Alright, so we'll discard that crit to ride. Our starter skill lets us draw. And grade 1 Rorowa lets us call a plant token to back row center. Which that token will get retired by Blaster Dark next turn. And if it does, we won't be able to use grade 2 Rorowa's skill. So I'm going to go ahead and call Burrow Mushrooms from our hand. And immediately use his skill to put him to soul to give us 2 more plant tokens. So that way if one gets taken out, we'll still have at least one. So then we'll attack with a Vanguard first. And she gets a crit trigger, so that will shut down our rear guard attack. So we'll have to just end our turn. So Blaster Dark skill will let her retire one of our plant tokens. And she also has Twin Drive on this attack. So I'm going to let it through anyway. And we get a heal trigger when she is wasted. We've got nothing to heal. Alright, so we only got one face-up damage, so I think I'm going to drop Prod Pollen to ride. And Rorowa's skill will let us retire one of our plant tokens and call 2 new ones. So then we'll call Radylina from our hand and use her activate ability to counter blast one and call our Momoke token, and we'll use his ability to eat our 3 plant tokens and give him an extra 15k. So then we'll just go ahead and attack with the Vanguard first. And we get a draw trigger, so power to Momoke. And she gets a crit. But we can still attack with Momoke from the back row. So that's that one through too. And then we'll attack with Radylina. And we can use her skill to Soul Blast one. She'll gain 30k from Momoke. She lets that one through too. And she gets another crit, which is wasted. And she'll get to revive Maple from her drop since she rolled a grade 3. Plus Graham Grace will let her call one to her back row center and let it attack this turn. But she couldn't fill up her board, so she still only gets 3 attacks. So I am going to guard this one. She gets a crit trigger. And I'll let that one through. And that is 2 crit, so I'm gonna go ahead and guard that one with that crit. Alright, so we'll discard that draw to ride for one's precious thing, Rorowa. So then we will go ahead and use Rorowa's activate ability to Soul Blast one and call out 3 plant tokens. So then we'll play Resolute Pair of Eyes from our hand, so we'll Counter Blast and retire one of those plant tokens. So that'll power up our back row and let us search out the grade 3 Radylina from our deck. So then we will call Full Blown Dragon from our hand. And let's see, I am going to go ahead and use Momoke's activate ability and eat these 2 plant tokens. Give him an extra 10k. And unfortunately we don't have a way to fill those circles back in at the moment. So we'll have to just attack with the Vanguard first. And we get a heal trigger, which we do not get, but we'll give that power to Momoke. And then we can poke with Full Blown Dragon, and she'll probably just intercept with Maple. Oh no, she let it through. Alright, so we'll attack with Momoke next for 30k. She guards with her over trigger. And then we'll attack with Radylina and use her skill to Soul Blast one. And she'll gain 30k from Momoke. And she perfect guards. But now we can use grade 3 Radylina skill from our hand, so we'll retire our grade 2 Radylina and Momoke. And Superior call her. And she'll gain 30k from Momoke. So we can attack once again for 43,000. And she perfect guards again. So since it's the end of our turn, we can use full-blown dragon skill and put him into soul and call out 2 plant tokens. So again, she's only getting 3 attacks this turn. But let's see, I am going to use Rorowa's ability, and we'll eat both these plant tokens. And then we'll throw that heal on top. So that'll stop her from getting her counter charge and soul charge. And I'll let that one through. We get a draw trigger. And we drew Viridescent Rorowa, so that's good. And I am going to let that through too. Alright, so now we can pseudo Persona Ride into a Viridescent Flash Rorowa. And he'll let us call out 2 plant tokens with the auto ability. And we'll get to activate Persona Ride. So now grade 3 Radylina skill will let us superior call a Momoke token behind her. So let's see, I am going to play another copy of our set order. So we'll Counter Blast, and we will retire grade 3 Radylina. So that'll power up our back row even more, and let us search out a copy of the grade 2 Radylina from the deck. So let's see, I am going to call Signpost Fairy, and we'll use Momoke's activate ability to retire both our plant tokens and our fairy. So that'll give him 15k and trigger all their abilities. So Signpost will give Momoke an extra 10k. And our 2 plant tokens will let us draw. So then we'll call Radylina over here. And we'll call Full-Blown Dragon over here. And since Mushrooms refuses to show up, we're not going to be able to fill in those rearguard circles. But we do have Momoke up to 40k. So we will attack with the Vanguard first. And Rorowa's skill will let us bind OG Rorowa from our soul. And we can give 5k to Momoke and Rorowa, as well as a crit for Rorowa as well. And she perfect guards again. And there's Mushrooms, a little late. So then we will attack with Full-Blown Dragon. Oh wow, she perfect guarded again. So then we'll attack with Momoke for 45,000. Oh, she's got to lay through. And that draw does not save her, so we got her with that one. So there you go, that was version 2 of my Rorowa deck. Pretty cool deck, I do like it quite a bit. So next up I will be doing another version 2 for a glitter deck. I'll be doing version 2 of Eva next. So until then, I guess that's all for this video. So lots of luck to you and yours.